Proponents of vision is our next guest, Paddy Kelly. Paddy, you're what we describe as one of the leading property developers in Ireland. 50 years of experience, not that you look it, mind you, and not alone just in Ireland. You're a consultant in the UK and in the rest of Europe, if not the whole world. One of the key things that you like to talk about in all of your developments, and please quickly tell us about what they are to give people a picture here in Ireland, but in the middle of all of this, you talk about quality urbanism.
Well, first of all, it's 60 years. Just getting it right.
Give or take 10 years. We're good.
I believe in community, and I believe that we have to live together. You know, we start off small in farms, we move to villages, towns, and cities. So we have to create urbanism with great care and knowledge. Ireland has some of the best young architects now, but we've all international reference. So Ireland underscores in this regard, but has the potential, provided we look outside and bring all our knowledge back, all the knowledge we achieved by going outside.
You were talking about the diaspora who spread because the opportunities weren't here. That's
but we've seeded the world in many ways. So when I look on, watching the decades as it happened, it's not easy to achieve the things we'd like to achieve, and it can only happen collectively, and it can only happen through leadership. So what does Ireland excel on? Bringing in particular foreign direct investment, in particular the Americans. Now at the moment the Europeans are buying their properties in town, and there's a shortage of housing, you could argue. Shortage of office, shortage of everything, you could argue. Why? Because we're growing again. But I remember very clearly 2008, and we built in the decade an average of 78,000 homes a year in Ireland. And it was believed at the time maybe too many. In the last decade, up to 2018, we built about 100,000, as low as 5,000 a year for maybe 4 years. So why was that? Anyone in the building business within reason had to leave or close down. So how do you go from finishing 93,000 homes a year to 5,000 and keep an industry in place? Think of it in agricultural terms. If you had no new seeds, no new farms, we'd starve.
Yeah.
But there was a kind of a prejudice maybe against the industry. Maybe in some ways we didn't behave well. But if you look at Ireland, it's on the way again.
Yeah.
So can we build in the next 10 years probably 500,000 homes?
So be more definite about what you're building in the 10 years, your vision.
In our vision, and I'm not going to talk, I can talk a little about what we've built, because we built nothing in 10 years in Ireland, nor have most of our friends.
Yeah.
Because the business was dismantled. All our loans were taken off by the state. So we had to survive all that, but we built overseas in the meantime.
Like so many people in Ireland as well, yes. you went through that high, the building, there's great success, and obviously you're on the top of the world, and then the crash. Yeah, but it obviously affected you as well.
Did the crash happen by accident, or was it mismanagement? What was it? Because the crash happened in the world. So Ireland had a particular approach to it, and we weren't experienced. So I think we crashed the plane.
Okay.
And we blamed the locals in some ways.
Yeah. So where are we now? Can you see a resurgence in the industry in Ireland?
Last year we built about 21,000 homes. The year before, virtually no social housing.
Okay.
Ireland used to build, when we started in the game, we built about 400 social houses. And then we stopped building any.
How important is that for you?
It's central to a balanced society, but it must be mixed in to all developments.
Clearly, because that social housing has now been destroyed, or many parts of it, inner cities and otherwise, which was social housing that didn't fit the bill. Is that where urbanism comes in, that you're building decent, honest to goodness, functional housing? Well, that's not just the house.
Yeah, and I'll take you down to a development we did in Smithfield with some partners. And it was 1 million square feet, over 400 to 500 units, shops, medical, hotel, a mixed use, which is what the city should be about. But part of what we did there specifically was to house the soldiers. And the soldiers were living, and the Cypher went there, and the soldiers found themselves vulnerable. Most of them were single men. And they set up this housing association called the Soldiers. So our president at the time opened it. Go down there and see it at work. It's fantastic. Yeah. So I'm a believer in the mixed community, but commercial and residential. So the whole thing mixed in, but of course with discipline. And above all, we haven't learned until recently to manage our properties. A lot of our social housing hasn't been managed well.
Okay. And do you think we need to re-establish communities by building the appropriate housing?
With no question.
Okay.
No question. And I said earlier, from the farm to the village to the town, and where's the nicest place to live? You live with your neighbours. And children, it takes, what do they say, it takes a village to learn to rear a child.
Yeah.
So we have to, Ireland has that in abundance, but we have to re-establish it.
So, common in all of the discussions that we've had, you're talking about money at the bottom of this. Where would the money come from? That's what most of the accountants will ask.
How would you define money?
The ability to put into housing.
Well, the way we were reared, I had 7 brothers. When we went out and built the bungalow, we got paid at the end of it. Our labour was free. And when we used to tender with my father, he said, we have a huge advantage. There's a huge amount of people in this community, if they're taught, they can build. We have an innate ability to build as Irish people.
Yeah,
and so I'm saying the money, a lot of it is an illusion.
Okay.
Because our own energy is what builds.
So is there a will there to create new social housing and integrate communities in Ireland now?
I think that there's been a great excuse book around it. Politicians have paid lip service to it. But now is an election issue.
Yes.
And it needs to be an election issue. Everybody's entitled to a roof over their head.
And how do you believe people can advance that goal together?
Well, in my mind, collectivism is where the energy comes from. And people have to get out and vote for what they believe in. Okay. Now, I'm not here with a political agenda tonight. I'm here as an individual involved in the business who's built thousands of homes and haven't built any in Ireland recently, and there's very good reasons for it. I'm also the son of my great-grandfather was in Mountjoy. He was one of the activists with the Parnell, and that's always been our stamp, because we had no rights as Irish people back in 1880, following the famine. So they established the rights first to own a little bit of land, and then that led on to the uprising later. But that's the essence of a lot of what I'm at. Now, I mix that with commercialism. I believe in winning gold and wearing it. I believe in Rory McIlroy. Go out and play your best games, but train for it. So that's where my mind is.
Put the effort in is what you're saying as well, and take action.
Prepare to win.
I'm glad you mentioned the Northern man there, because this Northern man's always pleased to hear about that. Thank you for your time, Paddy, and joining us on the debate tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Say thank you to both.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good man.